So what we will look at today is something called as time response specification. Okay, so the last time what we had done was given a first order or second order system. We just saw how it responds to different kind of signals, and in the first order system we saw there was something called as steady state error. We will formalize that in a better way today. Second order system, we saw how the response of system varies with changing in damping term. Okay, where we saw for an undamped system the response is just continuous oscillation. Still you have critically damped system to over damped system and so on. Okay, so what we will see now is given some design specification, what is the impact of time response. So loosely speaking, if I say that I would want to go, some signal yt and take some value, say y equals to 1, okay, somewhere here. So ideally what if I would want to design a system, I would want this guy to instantaneously go to this point. Just say t equals to 0 positive, that I switch on my air condition and immediately my temperature goes to desired 24 degree or 21 degree. Okay, sometime might be difficult to do it instantaneously, but it could possibly do it little like this or something like this, right? So not exactly like this, but we could at this point or this time, but I could expect if it is if I want to run from this point till this point and do very fast, then I just can't stop here, right? I have to go little further, right? Before then I again come back, then I run little more faster, then I go here, then I go like this, then I go like that, so and so on, right? So somewhere if I couldn't want these things to be happen, I would have to run little slowly, okay, so that I just go here and stop, right? So these are the kind of behavior we will analyze is to with how fast can my system respond or how fast can it reach the given desired value. But if it run very fast, are there overshoots, and if there is any overshoot, is there a limit on the overshoot, or I can say how what the value of y at this point, okay, and we will restrict ourselves to step response of the system and analyze behavior much easier, and it also quite intuitive too. So in journal, all the specification of how fast I go, how fast I settle down are the part of design specification. If someone gives me a problem, would say, okay, design me something which reach steady state value in so and so time that it should not overshoot beyond a certain limit, say this could be just 1, okay, and I would say I would not want to overshoot 1.1, right? For example, these indices answers the following questions. So based on this, other human, what we are interested in is how fast system moves to a given input, is response is oscillatory, and how oscillatory is the response, which is again we know that it is depend on the damping, that under damped system will have an oscillatory response, and how fast does it reach the final value. Okay, so here we will restrict ourselves to understand underdamped system, right? And we will focus on step response or unit step response. So to do quantity this, we will define ourselves few things, right? First is delay time is the time required for response to reach 50% of final value at first instant. You could have that as oscillatory response and it could reach 50% several times. And the rise time is usually defined as response to rise from 10 to 90% of the final value of overdamped system. And since we are here looking at underdamped system, we are looking at what time does it reach the peak, the desired value, and the first time or from 0 to 100 of final value at first instant. Okay, for example, if I will plot it, and I will say this is my desired value, say 1, and it rise. Okay, so it reaches this value for the first time. It's the desired value. So this is where you will get this value 1 here. Okay, and then it will keep on oscillating until it settles down at its final value. Okay, and the delayed time, this is my rise time TR, delay time is here TD, when my output is 50%, that is 0.5. so this is my delay time. Similarly, peak time is a time required for a response to reach peak value. So somewhere here, this is my TP. Okay, then I will also quantify if I reach a peak, if I am going from desired value to some another value, how much this overshoot. Okay, so this is quantified or called as peak overshoot, and this is just computed as percentage of overshoot, like this. Okay, so this is how much I deviate from steady state value at first instant. So why TP? This is my overshoot value, means the point I will reach, the maximum point what I overshoot here. Okay, and this one is my final value. Okay, so this is my steady state value, I can say. And then you just calculate the percentage of deviation from steady state value. Okay, so this is how we will calculate peak overshoot. The settling time, we had vaguely defined this last time when we were dealing with first order system, and we will call that all over again. The settling time was defined as time required for a response to reach and stay within a specified tolerance band. And for usually I would say, well, the system has reached some kind of steady state value if it is using 2% of its final value, or sometime even 5%, depending on my tolerance level. So in this case here, steady state value is 1. Okay, and I would say settling time when it reaches 0.98. Okay, means within 0.98 or 1.02. So again, all these things the settling time, we said we thought or we had derived the settling time concept earlier for first order system, right? And this concept, the peak time and the peak overshoots are not defined for over damped or critically damped response. The critically damped would be something like this. Okay. And over damped will be like this. This is critically damped, over damped. It will not settle down, it will be like this. Over damped is not settled at final value. Critically damped will be no oscillations. I will just clear it once. So this is my critically damped, this is my over damped. That is because let's start with this response. So this is over damped response and this is critically damped, would be something like this, right? It will never cross this value 1 or the desired value. So this is critically damped. So TP, MP typically defined only for undamped systems. This is over damped. Okay. And that is what we will focus most of our analysis on. So we are working with under damped. We are not working with critical damped and over damped because we are not dealing with overshoot. So this is what it looks like, a typical response for first order system. So this is first order system response. We will derive last time it looked like, and this is like has some kind of damped oscillations. So again I have delay time, rise time, peak time, and then settling time. So the first time when it reach here, it is again within 2%, 0.98 and 1.02. But once within it here, it's always remain within 2% value, right? It will never go down or up. So this is here are the values which we will focus on: TP, TR, MP, and the settling time. Now the idea would be, can I quantify this based on my system parameters, right? So start with second order undamped system with transfer function which we had derived, which we had said last time was a typical transfer function. If I would call it as GS, it was omega n square s square plus 2 zeta omega n s plus omega n square. Okay, and the response to this system, and we will do this for zeta less than 1 and greater than 0. So the rise time, so this system subjected to step input has a solution like this. So we derived this last time at with t is now replaced with tr. So this tr is the reason we have, because the rise time is a time taken by step response to go from 0 to 100% of the final value. So this is 100%. This is the solution of the equation, and I want to calculate the time at which it reaches this value 1. So this 1 and 1 will go. So I am left with sine omega t tr plus theta equals to 0. this is damped frequency, natural frequency, and if you remember, it was related to omega n under root 1 minus zeta square. Omega d is equals to, okay. So when this goes to 0 for the first time, so which means omega d tr plus theta is equals to pi, and pi could tr could be pi minus theta omega d. What was theta? So theta is written as cos inverse zeta for the damping coefficient, right? And then this relationship between omega d and omega n, the damped natural frequency with natural frequency of the system, okay. Similarly, I can calculate peak time. Peak time is a time taken by step response to reach its peak value, okay. So how do I find what is the time, right? So if I find here, I'm looking at this value, right? So this is a function. If I just take y as a function of t, so it starts here, it goes here, and again come down, right? So this is the maximum value that function can have, and from calculus I know that maxima can be computed by taking derivative of y, okay, and then setting this to 0. So I am just finding the slope and making it 0. If you take the slope at the peak point, I will just erase it once. So for a signal like this, the peak value will be where the slope is 0. So you will take dy by dt equals to 0, where t is peak time. So what this really means is, if I take dy by dt, I set it to 0, I compute this time at which this happens, the time at which this will happen. So time over here. So I do all these computation and I take the derivative of the last expression, this one. I will take the derivative of this. When I am taking derivative, one will go off and I will take derivative of this. It will look like, yes. So one is disappeared and I have is this 1 0 to all these guys, okay. And then I solve this step by step to get this, right? Omega d tp, this one. Here again I just interested in first instant. So this is this one peaks, and then dy by dt would be 0 at this point. So d1 by dt could be 0, and at several point right here. So here it can be 0, here it can be 0, but I am interested only on the first time. And then this is the value which I would be interchanging, right? Interested in. So in place of omega d I am writing in terms of natural frequency. So this is expression for peak time. So how do I express this overshoot as a percentage? So I calculate the peak value and then the steady state value. I'm taking peak value and then I'm taking steady state value, and the desired steady state value here, in this case it would be Tp minus 1, y at Tp minus 1. So how much, this is my desired value, 1, and my signal, how much the difference is between steady state and peak value. Okay, so I just substitute yTp here, and this is Tp is pi by omega d. So I plug it into the solution. In place of Tp, I am plugging pi by omega d. So the solution over here, I just see how much it will divert from its steady state value, how much it's divert. So yTp is substituted for Tp in the solution, and this, all of these computation would be something like this. Okay, so MP is a power, blah blah blah, and then this term get cancelled because cos theta, if you see here is a defined this way, theta is cos inverse zeta. So I can write zeta is equals to cos theta, and then I just use sine squared theta, cos squared theta is equals to 1 expression. So this will get cancelled with this. Okay, and this guy will just disappear. So the peak overshoot in percentage to the power, it will be this guy. Okay, some property of this one, right? So if I say, well, what are the limiting case here, right? So we go from, for zeta is equals to 0, when there is no damping, what we would expect is that MP will be highest, and if my steady state value is 1, then MP here would be 1. And if I substitute zeta is equals to 0, so MP would be 1, which means my peak overshoot would go from 0 to 1. It is going from 0 to 1, then again come back, then like this. So which means my peak overshoot is at 1. This is the desired value. It will go all the way till here and then come back, just keep oscillating like this. So this is standard response. Okay, and MP is equals to 1. It is almost like 100% overshoot. Now zeta keeps on increasing, and I see that my overshoot keeps on decreasing, right? So if I just were to point the I were to plot the peak overshoot versus zeta, zeta going from 0 to 1, I see that this will be something like this. So this is little important, right? So one of the design parameter here could be, if we were to restrict my peak overshoot, then my problem would be to design my system with an appropriate zeta. Okay. So similarly for settling time, the settling time is a time required for the response to reach and stay within, say, 2% of band of its final value. So how do we compute this? So let's say some picture here. My response is again something like this. This is steady state value. Okay, and it is say 1. Okay, so we will have to go a little further up here. So if I look at this and this response here, let us say I actually bound it from the above and from the below. By curve like this, and bound. What are these curve? These are simply these exponential curve here. This guy on the top would be 1 plus e to the power minus zeta omega n t by 1 plus 1 minus zeta square. Okay, and this would r would just go away. Okay, and this is just to be standard. So this curve on the top and this curve on the bottom, this is 1 minus e to the power minus zeta omega n t by 1 minus zeta square. So this is all good, right? So if I say, well, when does this curve inside this solid lines reaches 98% and stay here? Well, the answer would be that whenever this curve, you know, this guy, whenever this reaches 98%, then they stay there, because these are enveloped by these curves, right? And this guy on the solid line is just enveloped by these two curves. So I can just now look at the response of the system, right? And so I just say, let's take the bottom over here, for example 1 minus zeta minus 1 minus 1 by 1 minus zeta square. And this, if you remember, look at the response first order, right? So where we had the other day that the response was 1 minus e to the power minus t by tau, right? And if you look at the response, we had something like this. This is my 1, this will be my response yt. This kind of looks similar, right? So this is time constant is 1 . This is my, so this guy t at the first time constant, it reaches 65%. If you remember, last time we have seen, if I put this at first time constant, it will reach 63%, then at 2nd it is 80%, then third it is 95%, 3, then 4 times of time constant, it is 98%. Okay, so if this guy reaches settling times at t times the time constant, this guy would, you know, reaches in the same time, because this is just enveloped by these. So this is 2% tolerance band and settling time is ts. Okay, this is 3 times the settling time when I am having 3% tolerance band. Okay, so we can consider either 2% or 3% depending upon that design conditions. So how do I write this? So ts, if I look at my curve, time constant here was just, I just bottom, if I take bottom curve, it is 1 minus e to the power minus zeta omega n t by 1 minus zeta square. So this has a time constant 1 by 1 by zeta omega n, and therefore my settling time would be 4 over here, 4 times the time constant, that will be 4 by zeta omega n over here. Okay, and in case of 5% it is 3 by zeta omega n. So what does this mean? That the settling time is inverse of zeta and omega n again. Let's say the limiting cases. I will erase them. So let us say limiting case zeta being 0. So my settling time would be infinite, and this is not surprising because if my settling time is infinite or when zeta is 0, I am just having like oscillatory response, right? So my system will never go anywhere within 2% or even 5% or 50%. Okay, so settling time would be infinite, and zeta increases, the settling time tends to reduce, right? So the based on formula here, zeta increases, then settling time reduces. So I don't want to draw a graph for that at a moment, but we will understand that increasing zeta will cause reduction in settling time. Okay, so what is sufficient to increase zeta? So my peak overshoot is also a function of zeta in such a way that if I have a smaller zeta, I will have a smaller peak time, even smaller rise time. If I want a faster response, my zeta is smaller, but my overshoot is larger, right? So usually in design specification, my peak overshoot would be specified and then my zeta would be calculated based on peak overshoot. Okay, and therefore if we were to look at settling time, it just depends on natural frequency of the system. So to write the settling time, I can play around with the guy omega n, right? So omega n also over here. So zeta is already defined by the performance specification of peak overshoot. So then when this is fixed, I may not be able to change it here again, because smaller zeta would maybe increase a bigger overshoot, which may not be very desirable. So I can just play around with this omega n, and that is only we will see now how we would smartly design these things, so that I have not a big overshoot but also a smaller settling time and so on. Okay, so what could be the application of damped or these several kind of systems, right? So let's start with over damped system. Now this is push button water tap shut off valve. Okay, so originally if you look at the trains, the tap in train, we would have a normal tap which people would start and just forget to turn off, and then we could waste water. Then later on they had these kind of, I don't know, I could draw a picture of this, right? So knob here, then tap is there. Oh here, this is your tap. Missing. So it is like this, and then you will have a tap and then a water flow here, right? and when you keep on pressing this, and then once you release this, the water will not come anymore, right? So they do now is that you press it, so the system will give you water for some time, and eventually the wall will close. Well, that is like the example of an undammed system. Like the emergency in technology is can be seen when you travel by train, right? I don't know if trains still have the kinds of smart things or not, but this is more sophisticated thing. You have the sensor, you just put the hand and then you just actuate things, and then water just the wall just close off gradually. The same thing you can see in automatic door close, right? They do not really be, they can't really have a fast response and then bang on to the wall or to the stopper, right? So these are automatic doors, are also typically over damped system. Critically damped system, you could want them to have evaluator mechanism or even a gun mechanisms, right? So you want so we talked to this last time as well, and of course undamped system, all string instruments would do that, because if you pluck a string, say if you have a guitar and I plug the string, then usually it has a nice wave kind of formation, right? But if you plug the string from here, it goes and again come back here itself. It may not generate the sound which you want. Okay, so similarly all electrical and mechanical measuring instruments, right? So you take a voltmeter, if it were to measure by a scale like this, 1 2 3 4 5. So this is the 0 position. It will typically go to the desired value, suppose 3, and then come back, and these are usually undamped system, right? All this is moving coil and measuring instruments. These are undamped system. So once we do these things, we are also interested in, does my output follow the reference all the time? So we saw last time when we were doing the response of first order system, in some cases we saw that there is a steady state error, which means the reference is not tracked directly by the output, but it is with some error which was defined by the time constant, right? So let's try to formalize that a little more, and then we will revisit the original example which we had. So steady state error, typical feedback loop looks like this, and you can have a reference signal, output, feedback loop, and the difference between reference and the output, okay, is termed as error signal, and this error I would typically want to go to 0. Now given these characteristics of system GS and 1, it will also be HS, nothing would change in the analysis. So giving this GS, I can find what is error, right, depending on nature of signal. So what is steady state error? It is error between actual output and the desired value. This is my actual output, this is my desired value as the time goes to infinity, right? So we know from final value theorem, if I call this signal as ET, that SS is the limit S approaches to 0, S into ES in Laplace domain. Now E is R minus Y, this E is R minus Y, okay, and Y I know, is, so this transfer function is, here is g. So y, and this transfer function is gs by 1 plus g. So y gives this r. Okay, so I can write r, my r is given, y I calculated using this es minus r. Y is over here. If I calculate y, this is y. Okay, es is, y is g into e. Okay, and it will be g, e is what, r minus y. Now this is e equal to r minus y, and y I know. So transfer function here is g by 1 plus gs. So y gives this r. Okay, so I can write r minus g r by 1 plus r, and I get this r by 1 plus g. So this is my error signal. Now this is the steady state error, and the limit s approaches to 0, s into s would give me this thing. Okay, now we will make use of this little thing here, and I will give us lots of information of subject, system subject to several input. Okay, so this is my error which we have calculated. So next is, so let's start with step input, right? So this will be fixed all the time. So for the step input rs equals to 1 by s, what is my steady state error? So es limit, es is limit s approaches to 0, rs, s into rs by 1 plus gs, and this rs is 1 by, this is 1 by s. So this s will get cancelled with this s, so I left with this thing. So limit would be 1 by 1 plus kp, right? And kp is, would be limit s approaches to 0, gs, and this limit will always exist because we are looking at causal systems. Okay, so well, with this limit will always exist, so we do not really care about if it might block to infinity or not. Okay, and this also be with this like eigenvalue will always exist. Okay, so the kp is computed as limit s approaches to 0, gs, is called a position error constant, right? So I am just tracking a position, a fixed position, 1 by s. Now similarly, if I go to input which is ramp, where I am tracking a ramp, so steady state error is, again I do all the computation, one of the s disappear. How it will disappear? It is limit s approaches to 0, s into my input is 1 by s square, and my signal is 1 plus gs. Okay, in this formula I am keeping s rs is 1 by s square, then 1 by 1 plus ds. So s will get cancelled and I will get this value. So now this will go to 0. This will go to 0. I'll left with this thing, and it is called as velocity error constant. If I have a feedback loop, I will just draw it here again. This is gs, this is 1, this is y, this is r. Okay, so one reference always be error. Reference minus ys is okay. So if input and reference is a step, then there will always be an error. So the response of ys, if I just take an undamped whatever kind of system, if I just look at the steady state error curve, let's say this is my desired value, my actual value will be just somewhere here, right? So this is steady state error. So you might think of this as a position error. You might sometime think that the velocity error is the actually error in the velocity, but that's not true. It is just a velocity. This is an error in it, not the error in velocity, but the error in position due to ramp input or due to velocity input. So for example, I am maybe chasing a car, okay, right here, and I say a car C1 and this is my reference car, and then I am just want to meet the right at C2. This is my car, this is reference C, this is C2. So as the time goes to infinity, we always at a distance of 1 meter for this, right? So this is just a position error. We are not having an error in the velocity, even though we could just be moving at constant velocity. So this would be v1, this will be at v1, so this will also be a same v1, but I will just have an error in the position always. So that is, it should not be confused with error in the velocity. Similarly, if I were to give you a temperature of 24 degree, I just go to 23 degree, the steady state here is 1, right? So I'm just tracking a position, right? I just want to go to 24. But however, if I keep on increasing my temperature profile with time, this is increasing, let's say 1 time times the t, okay? So my t, and this is my temperature and the reference temperature, right? And the time, it just keep on increasing. So if I say that the velocity, if you know there is a velocity error, I will start from here and I will just be here like this. So if this has to increase constantly at t, well, I will always be behind by say 1 degree. So at t equals to 50, I must be at 49. At t 100, I just be at 99. So it's just a little difference in the position, not really the rate of the car here or the rate of the change of temperature here. Okay, so don't get confused with position error and velocity error. Next is, similarly, if I have a parabolic input for which Laplace transform look like this, 1 by SQ. I can do all the maths. I can say steady state error is 1 by Ka. So Ka defined in this way, and this guy is called as acceleration error constant. And if I just know this has an exact S over here, extra S over here, right? So the error constant, these three things, these are the standard test signals which we also used in earlier lecture to study response of system. So the error constant Kp, Kv and Ka, they describe the ability of system to reduce or to eliminate the steady state error. For example, if I will come to that, right? So then these values depends mostly on the type of system, while these types is important, and as type becomes higher, more steady state errors are eliminated. We will just define these types in next slide. So values mostly depends on the type of system, and as the type of system becomes higher, more steady states errors are eliminated. So now I will define type of system by number of poles at the origin. So if I have a system in pole 0 configuration, GS would be typically some gain with a set of zeros and with set of poles actually, and some set of poles at origin. So if there is n poles, I will call type n system, and if n is 0, I will call it type 0 system, and so on, right? And we will see how does this type actually now influence the way I compute the steady state error. So that is type of system. So the steady state error is measure how accurate my system is, right? It really track my reference actually accurately, or is there, so the accuracy should. So in an ideal scenario, I would always want it to track it to its desired value, right? However, there could be situation where it may not be possible to do so. In that case, I would like the error to be as small as possible, and that is very important performance parameter, right? I don't want the desired temperature of 24 and end up at 12 or 31 for an example, right? So this steady state error now depends on two factors, and in the nature of the it is the nature of the signal which I am tracking, and also the nature of physical system or the type of system, right? And of course all these things we will only calculate for closed loop system. Of course I will calculate for closed loop system only based on open loop information. I didn't really need to see what is happening within the loop and so on. So we will see by how we will do that. So start for a type 0 system. This GS is again K sets of zeros, okay, and there is no pole at origin, and n is, in the previous slide this Sn guy is now n is 0. Okay, so I will just have these poles. How does it respond to step signal? Well, for a step signal I have this guy 1 plus Kp, so that there will always be some constant error. Okay, right? So at steady state, if I will track position signal, for example, this is my position signal. So this guy can track, very possibly I would take it as the response, this as a response, but it could be something like this, and maybe it will go on. Then there will be some error, right? Over here it will always have some error. So there will be some steady state error here when you are just tracking this step signal. Now the system can never track a velocity signal. Why? Because the steady state error is computed in this way: limit s approaches to 0, 1 by s gs, and this is infinity. For steady state, it will never be able to track a signal which is like this, and the error will keep on increasing, right? So this guy, as we keep moving further, the error will keep on increasing. Similarly, here it will never able to track the parabolic input, so the acceleration error will also be infinite. So to summarize, a type 0 has a constant position error, an infinite velocity and acceleration error, all at steady state. So all these are related to steady state behavior. At the moment, I am not worried about what is peak overshoot, what is rise time and so on. I am only interested in what and how my system behave at steady state. Now next is type 1 system. Well, I just do all the computation again for one type 1 system. My limit s approaches to 0, 1 by 1 plus gs. Since this has a pole, one pole is there at origin, this guy will now go to infinity, right? Kp. So as we know, Kp is defined as limit of s approaches to 0, gs. So this guy, since s has a pole, okay, gs has some pole, will go to infinity. Okay, so error will go to 0. Similarly, velocity error would be limit s approaches to 0, 1 by s gs. So this s would cancel out, this s would cancel out with this s in the gs, and I will have a constant error here, and the acceleration error will go to infinity. So if I take a type 1 system and I ask, will it follow step input, then it will be a steady state error, there will be no error. It will actually follow the input very nicely. However, if I take same system and if I ask to follow a ramp, so it might have some steady state error, right? And goes its response like this, would be something like this, and eventually goes at constant error here, like a straight line. It will be straight line parallel to that. Okay, similarly, acceleration, it will never be able to track a signal which is parabolic. So it will have a 0 position error, a constant velocity error, and infinite acceleration error at steady state. Now type 2 system. Now nothing will change here. The position error will be still 0 because I have s in the denominator. I put limit s approaches to 0, 1 plus 1, 1 by 1 plus gs, gs goes to infinity, and it will be 1 by infinity goes to 0. Similarly for velocity error. However, my acceleration error now has some constant, some number. It was infinite in previous two cases. Now I would summarize by saying that if I take system type 2 system, I ask you to track position or step, it will track it perfectly. If I ask you to track a parabolic signal, it will do it, but there will be actually a small error determined by the acceleration error constant. Now we see that, if I say, I give a little problem saying take a type 0 system and make the position error to be 0, what would I do? I will just say, is this looks similar to all this theory now? And I say, see, just put a integrator, right, or add a pole at the origin, and I can always do this is a system which has more poles and then zeros, and I can possibly always realize this, and I can just put it here, right? So this can be done. Can this not be done? Or can this be done with some being a little careful? We will see all those things, but these are the design specification which would be given to us, and then we can see that these error can be quantified just based on the type of signals which we were tracking and the type of system. Having an integrator in my system, or having a pole at origin gives a little more hope to the designing the system. Okay, so that's all for today's lecture. Thank you.